Hi everyone, I'm Jen Liddy, Business Development Coach, and I'm here to teach you Module 3 of the COVID-19 Small Business Resiliency Program. I'm going to tell you, normally I teach from memory because I've usually taught something so many times that it's all in my head, but this time I really have to do some looking at my notes today. So forgive me if I'm looking down. I want to let everybody know before we get started that if at any time, first of all, I'm home like the rest of you, and there's noisy things happening outside of my window, and there's a dog who may bark and a child who may come in. So I want you to know that I'm kind of rolling with it, but I like to set that up for everybody to kind of be kind to ourselves. I'm going to share my screen, and you are going to not only get access to this recording at the end, you'll also get a PDF that has clickable links on it. So today I'm going to be talking about a lot of information that you'll be able to access and go much deeper into. If at any time during our call today you want to put something in the chat to ask a question, please do that. And if you have a question for WISE directly, I've got two people here from WISE today, Carolyn and Nicole. And so if one of you could put the email address for WISE in the chat, I would appreciate that. And if you could also put the website for WISE, that would be great too. Thank you so much. So for those of you who are watching this on replay, in case you don't see the chat, the email address, if you have any questions for WISE, is wisecenter@syr.edu. And you can always go to the wisecenter.org website. There's a lot of information there for you. Now, if you have registered for this training, you will get access to all the other trainings. So I just want you to know that too. And if you can't watch them live, that's okay, because they're all being recorded and you can watch or listen to them later. So we're going to get started. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm just going to make sure that I have everything set up technologically, because this is always the trickiest part. It should just be, okay, I'm gonna leave my face up here just so that you can you guys put in the chat whether you can see my face okay? Just a thumbs up would be great, so that you should be able to see my face and the PowerPoint presentation. Can you see my face okay? Excellent, thanks Linda, I appreciate you doing that. So let's get started. Again, my name is Jen, and I'm here today to teach you about the COVID-19 Small Business Resiliency Training Program. This is all about how to help women entrepreneurs feel like they have some control over what's going on in their businesses right now. We've created this program at no cost to you because we at WISE understand how important it is for you to prepare for and respond to everything this pandemic is doing to not only us as women, but us as business owners, our workplaces, our employees, our customers. And so we're going to be rolling out 7 modules to help you really take charge of your business. And there's lots of different things we're going to cover. We're going to cover everything from workplace safety and finances and capital. We're going to also talk about cyber threats, and we're going to talk about the effects that reduced travel might be having on your business. Today, what we are focused on is Module 3. And in Module 3, we are specifically focusing on demystifying the many funding options available to you. So I want to explain how today is going to work. I'm going to introduce to you a lot of resources, and then we're going to start with the federal resources, and we're going to talk about private resources, and we're going to talk about state resources, and then we're going to talk about local resources. So think of it as a funnel today. We're getting more and more specific to this region as we go through. As I said, I'll be sharing a lot of information If you don't get everything down on your notes, it's fine. You'll get a PDF later. You'll also get a copy of this recording. So we're going to address how to prepare your company for a capital infusion if you need it, all the resource partners that are available to you in our community, and the people who can actually help you with applications and getting your paperwork in order, etc. I want you to know that you don't have to do this alone. And WISE isn't the only resource available to you. You're going to learn about a lot of places locally and nationally that are available to help you. So settle in. We're going to be about an hour, and we're going to talk about the relationships you can build to help you move forward. So this is an inspirational quote from Winston Churchill, of all people. And he actually said something really impressive to me. For women, financial independence is a matter of necessity. And imagine how much more true that is today. I'm glad you're here because we're going to talk about how to help you create some financial independence. Let's talk about all that we're going to cover. I kind of was very broad about this. We're first going to explore the federal programs that are available to you. And I have to say, when I went through this module as the teacher of it, so I'm not the instructional designer, somebody else designs these programs and I teach them. So I go through them as a teacher, and it just finally, everything made so much sense to me about all of the things that are available to us. You're going to see very clearly, we've got federal things, we've got national things that are private, we've got state funded, and we've got a lot of local things that are available to us. So I think you're going to find there are a lot of dots connect for you today. So we're going to start with the federal money that's available to you. And then we're going to explore specifically within that federal group, the SBA, or the Small Business Administration. Then we're going to explore what's available for us nationally or multi-state via private options. Then we'll move into what New York State is offering us. That's our fourth objective. And after that, we're going to talk about what's available with key partnerships in the central New York area. Then we're going to talk about what do we need to talk about regarding tax relief, debt relief, utilities relief, and how to avoid loan predators. So we're going to wrap up with how to avoid loan predators and how to make sure you have all your ducks in a row so that you can get the funding that you are looking for. So let's get going onto the next page. To begin with, at WISE, WISE spent a lot of time and effort culling information from local women business owners. So they did focus groups. And in these focus groups, they learned a lot of very important things. Like, we wanted to know from WISE, from the local women, what is it that you guys need? How can we help you? What did you learn over the course of this whole COVID-19 quarantining and New York on pause? And what we heard from women included that they learned it was important to develop good relationships with their banker. And many of them hadn't done that. So that was something that was like, oh, I need to really make that a priority in my business, because if you know the people who are giving the funding, it's much easier for you. They wanted to share with us how they had to find support to address cash flow in their business and understand their business financials. And this is often a place with women in business where that's like one of the first things that kind of goes off the list because they get so busy. Women told us it was worthwhile to become familiar with the SBA, that's the Small Business Administration, loans like the PPP or the EIDL, which you probably have heard of, and you may have even applied for that. But the women that we spoke to wanted you to know that if you haven't done that yet, to do that and not count yourself out, like actually do the work. Local women also told us that they were taking advantage of a 30-year loan with low interest to help them get through these emergency times, and that they became keenly aware of their operational and financial efficiency, maybe in a way they weren't prepared for before. They also told us they got creative and worked to create pay structures for virtual offerings that they had come up with. And they had to get creative and consider new ways of creating revenue without being open 7 days a week and being accessible all the time so that they could make their business more sustainable. They also told us that many of them reopened at 50% capacity and were still able to address their overhead and their finance issues. And they suggested as a piece of advice that we organize our finances to keep 6 months in reserve so that if and when something happens like this again, we will be in a better position of power. Today, we're going to use three primary resources. The thing I love about this program and how it's been researched is that the instructional designer and her team have done a really excellent job of only using primary resources. That means, you know, like I'm sure that you've gotten texts or emails from people, or you've seen something on the news that refers to something. These are the things that are being referred to. And what our team has found is that when the information starts to get repetitive, it's always coming from one of these three sources. So it's the US Department of Treasury, the US Small Business Administration, and the New York State website. So I want you to know everything we're sharing today is based in primary source research. And again, if at any time you have questions, just drop them in the chat and I will definitely address them before the end of our time together today. Remember that the first thing we're going to talk about is that top of the funnel, the United States government and all their funding programs. And I want you to walk away today understanding how at the federal level, small businesses are being helped through several programs. I want to make them clear to you today, and you'll also get some specific websites so that you can even go deeper and get more specific with your business. On this next slide, I want you to understand what's happening here. So for example, finding information from the government can be a complicated maze of web pages if you've ever tried to do that before. And back in the day, there was no easy way for a person to go to a government website and get exactly what they needed. But today, thanks to Benefitsgov, which is where this information is from, millions of citizens now have easy, accessible information at their fingertips because they can just look at what is it that they need. So look on this grid and take a look at the kinds of problems or people that they are serving. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm in the military and I'm active, I'm a veteran of the military, there is a space for you to go right now and find out information about funding opportunities specifically for you. So this is a website called Benefits.gov, and it has many categories that you can dive more deeply into. This, what I'm showing you here, is just the tip of the iceberg, as you can imagine, right? There's lots of different categories. So it is worth your time to go see and research how can the federal government support you with your specific business, who you are, your background, your specific needs and problems. I would bookmark this site and go back to it frequently, because this is the kind of thing that you do once and you're like, that was amazing. And then you maybe forget to go back to it as your needs change. But if you can keep this as part of your standard operating procedures, this website can really help you. So go ahead and take a look at that. And where might you find, like if on this grid, where might you want to start looking for a service that could help you, a loan that could help you, financial services that could benefit you? Okay, moving on. So we're still talking about the federal government. And maybe you have heard of the Federal Reserve Main Street Lending Program. It's the MSLP, Main Street Lending Program. So the Federal Reserve established the MSLP to support lending to small and medium-sized businesses that were in sound financial condition before COVID hit. Now, if you're looking for this program and you think you might be eligible for it, there's a link here at the bottom. And if you click on that link, you will learn more about what your eligibility and conditions are. But I want to talk about it a little bit. The Main Street Lending Program purchases loans from banks, and the banks retain a stake in it. But it really does help people who are in a small to medium-sized business who are looking to get help with credit flow and are in need of loans until they have recovered from or adapted to the pandemic. So we wanted to let you know this is another one of the federal government resources for you, and the way to dig into it is at the bottom here. And remember, it's called the Main Street Lending Program. So, and today, what I want you to know is today's presentation is very high level information. So I don't have like a lot of stories to tell, and it's very much informational. So please make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself, that you don't feel like you have to check out everything. Listen for the things that might work best for you. Okay. The SBA is the Small Business Administration. This is they have public service offerings, and I want to share with you all that the SBA does, because I would say that until fairly recently, I didn't really understand how far a reach the SBA had and how much they are really in business to help serve the small business owner. They've actually been in business for a long time, like from 1953, I think. So they're here to help and today we're talking about 5 different ways that they help. They actually help if you're a lender. So if you're somebody who's like part of a bank, or you're part of an organization that gives away money, that you can partner with the SBA to issue government guaranteed loans. They also support resource partners. So what that means is the SBA partners with many local partners. So this would locally be WISE. Locally, there's CEO Center State. There's a lot of local things that the local organizations that the SBA partners with, and their job is to help counsel, mentor, and train small business owners. So I said WISE, but there's also the Onondaga County Small Business Development, the SBDC. That's another place the SBA is showing up locally for us to support small businesses. The SBA also provides support for SBICs, which are small business investment companies. These are privately owned investment funds, and they're currently regulated by the SBA. So this is financial assistance that uses its own funds plus capital from the SBA. These people make equity and debt investments to qualifying small businesses. So you might be able to get some money or support there. The next piece is surety bond partners and agents. This is the 4th thing that the SBA does. And they partner with the SBA to provide access to new clients, and they help give access to contract work. So this is something that's secured, again, by the SBA. And then finally, contracting officials is the 5th thing, the 5th aspect of getting to know the SBA that we're talking about. What this means is contracting officials can use SBA programs to help the government meet its goal of awarding at least 23% of contract dollars to small businesses. And I don't know if you knew that was in place, but the SBA is dedicated to getting contracts for at least 23% of the people who they have to be small business owners. So I thought this was all really interesting. There are 5 ways that they help us. We're going to talk about the SBA a little bit more in a moment, because the SBA has kind of a life of its own. So in Objective 2, we're going to talk about how you can understand the SBA better and make it work for you. How can you leverage this for your success? So let's go. There are 5 types of SBA funding programs. This is what you've got here is a primary source on some of the funding programs that SBA provides. And again, this is information you can get on funding, recovery, guidance, for both businesses and employers, local assistance, regardless of where you live, and if you want help with relief efforts or government contracting. These are the resources to go to for those kinds of things. I'm going to go deeper into what the SBA does in a moment. Okay, so let's talk about the 5 types of funding programs that you can find within the SBA. Excuse me, sorry. Obviously, there are loans, and the SBA works with lenders to provide loans to small businesses. So the agency doesn't directly give the loans, they go through a bank, and this is why it's so important to have a great relationship with a banker. But if you are looking for loans, the SBA reduces the risk for lenders and makes it easier for you to get the loan that you need. So this might be something that you need to look into if loans are the place where you need some support right now. The next aspect of funding that the SBA provides is investment capital. And what this does is an SBIC invests in small businesses in the form of debt and equity. So again, the SBA doesn't directly invest in small businesses, but it does provide funding to qualified SBICs with expertise in certain industries. So if you're looking for investment capital, the SBA might be the place to start and see what kind of road you can go down. Next and third is the SBA. The SBA provides funding programs in the form of disaster assistance. So these are low interest disaster loans to help businesses and homeowners recover from declared disasters like we're in right now. So again, you can use the money for a number of purposes, including real estate, personal property, economic injury, machinery and equipment, inventory, or for active military duty. So if this is an area that's like making your ears perk up right now, this might be where you stop and say, that's what I need to look at right now for my business and for me. Again, surety bonds, these protect your business with, they help you win contracts so that they can guarantee that work will be completed. Many public and private contracts require surety bonds. If this is, again, making your ears tingle and say, oh, that's where my brain is, that's what I need to work on, the SBA is the place to start for you. And finally, grants. We are always asked about grants at WISE. And so the SBA has a place where you can look for government grants that will help your business do specific kinds of research and specific kinds of development. So the federal government, one of the things you need to know is they generally only offer grants to nonprofits, educational institutions, and state and local governments. So keep that in mind. But sometimes they can offer it to other kinds of small businesses. So it's certainly worth checking out and checking in with, is this a source for you? Going a little bit deeper now into the SBA CARES Act. So the SBA now has some temporary funding to address the COVID-19 outbreak as part of the CARES Act. And the CARES Act was put in place specifically as the coronavirus came into play, and they knew they needed to have money available to small business owners. You probably have heard of some of these at least. And over the next few slides, we will dive deeper into each one. So I just want you to see these first, and we're going to dive deeper into each one in a moment. The first loan program is the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. So this is an SBA loan where businesses get to keep their workforce employed. It is a direct incentive for small businesses. So the SBA will forgive loans if all employees are kept on the payroll for 8 weeks and the money is used for any of these things: payroll, rent, mortgage, interest, or utilities. So those are 5 things that if you've used your PPP for that, you can get forgiveness for this loan. You can apply through any FDIC bank or credit union or institution. And basically, the lenders have, we'll talk later about who good lenders are for you, but you should consult with your local lender to see if this is a good program for you. The next SBA option to make capital available to you is the EIDL program. And you may have been frustrated in the beginning of COVID because the EIDL program got depleted very quickly, and there was some kerfuffle around people who applied for it and got it and maybe perhaps shouldn't have. You will be happy to know that this loan advances up to $10,000 for economic relief to businesses. It's basically $1,000 per employee in your business if you're experiencing temporary difficulties. So a new EIDL has been presented as of June 15th. So if you didn't get it the first time around, or you didn't apply for whatever reason, now is a good time to apply. Remember to go back to what those wise women in the beginning told us: don't count yourself out. If you haven't yet applied, go back and apply this time. And we're going to talk about what kind of paperwork you'll need in a little while. Okay, the next piece that we're going to talk about, this is good news. The SBA will pay 6 months of principal, interest, and any associated fees that borrowers owe for all current, here's where it gets 7A, 504, and microloans. So this relief is not available for PPP or EIDL loans, but you need to know that if you have some other, this specific kind of debt, the 7A, 504, and microloans, you don't even need to apply for this assistance. It will automatically be provided to you. And if you want to learn more about this, again, go to the SBA debt relief on the SBA site to learn more. And all of those links are available to you in the PDF you will get. Let's move into the last piece of SBA debt relief provisions. This is the Express Bridge Loan Program. So this is a pilot program, and this loan allows the SBA Express lenders the authority to deliver expedited SBA guaranteed financing on an emergency basis. So if you really need a bridge to get you from one place to the other, this might be for you. Notice that it's up to $25K. There's a fast turnaround, and it can be repaid in full or in part by the EIDL loan. So again, don't count yourself out of anything. Dive into these programs and talk to people. Find out, is this for me? Our purpose here is to provide you with the information, and then your job is to dig in and see if this is right for, which one is right for you. I always like to remind people, there are humans waiting for you at WISE who want to help you. We have hired new business counselors who are trained in all of this stuff to hold your hand and support you. So if you're feeling like overwhelmed by this or confused by this and you don't know which one is right for you, there are people who do. So again, reach out to WISE. Those ways to connect with them are in the chat. And I will bring that up again at the end for you. One last thing on SBA is that the SBA has a learning center, and there are webinars, there are trainings, there are so many things in here that you can use to help you grow your business. So even in times of not being in COVID-19, not being in a pandemic, not being in an emergency, the SBA has a ton of resources for everything from investment, business planning, how to price yourself, and legal requirements. They have a ton of information. So you can go right down to their website. It's basically sba.gov, and this one is /course. But again, if you just go to the SBA website, everything I presented to you is right there, and you can use it to help you decide what's best for you. Let's move into objective 3. Remember, we're moving from federal now to the national private sector. So this is another aspect of available funds for you. And basically what I'm offering you here, I'm not going to go into each one, but I think I have 9 options of national privately funded programs. So Facebook has a small business grant program, and so does Kiva. Kiva's mission is to expand financial aspect to help serve underserved communities through crowdfunding. And this is effective immediately. US applicants for a Kiva loan can get up to $15K with a 6-month grace period. So just want you to know about that. I forgot to mention, Facebook's offering a small business grant program. They have $100 million set aside in cash grants and ad credits for people during this time. So again, that might be a great option for you. Let's talk about the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation. Again, another advocacy and action nonprofit, but it's not government, it's nonprofit. And this is created by and for restaurant workers. So they have a COVID-19 relief fund that comes from donations. So if you are involved with restaurant workers or have a restaurant, they are offering 0 interest loans to small businesses. And finally, on this slide, Pursuit. Pursuit is a nationally recognized organization that focuses on serving businesses and lending partners in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. So if you're watching this from one of those 3 states, this might be something for you to explore. They have a wide variety of options available to you, and they offer a proven track record. Interestingly, they also love to focus on minority, women, and veteran entrepreneurs. Sorry for the confusion there. Okay, the next grouping of multi-state private funding programs begins with Grameen. And Grameen offers micro-financing loans and essential capital to support their members who are low-income women entrepreneurs. And so we love all of these options that are available to women and minorities and veterans, because these are usually the people who have been marginalized and find it harder to get money, of course. Number 2 here is the Honeycomb crowd-funded small business relief loan. Honeycomb is offering a special program, again, through a crowdfunding platform, and they developed a peer-to-peer lending platform designed to allow friends and family to fund small businesses. WeFunder, the number 3 one here, enables small businesses to crowdfund loans of $20K to $1 million. So they're another crowdfunding resource that connects startups with investors online. And then the last one we have on this page is TrueFund. TrueFund offers grants and low interest loans for women and minority-owned businesses. They have a mission to promote and foster economic development to underserved populations. And they are a 501c3, also nonprofit. So again, these are so far 8 private funding programs that our researchers have found. And the last one I'm going to tell you about, we feel like Hello Alice deserves its own page. And if you haven't checked out Hello Alice, you should do that when we get off this call. Hello Alice is the world's first 100% virtual accelerator. And Hello Alice has applied machine learning technology to help business owners find their path. It matches business owners to personalized opportunities and resources. You can do this locally and online to help you start and grow a business. So they have launched as of January 2016, and they are still going, and they've helped nearly 300 women on 6 continents. So they are worldwide. And they specifically provide, they also provide opportunities to Hispanic business owners, all branches of the US military, military spouses and veterans. So if this sounds like you, go check it out if you are somebody who's looking for some private funding. These are 9 resources. And again, in the PDF, you will have access to all the links. So let's move into objective 4. And again, if you have any questions at this point, feel free to put it in the chat. But here we're going to explore New York State funding programs. And there's not a ton to share when it comes to the New York State funding programs. But if you go to if you were here for the other trainings, you've heard about New York Forward as a website. New York Forward has a loan fund for businesses and nonprofits with fewer than 20 full-time equivalent employees and less than $3 million in annual revenue. Businesses who apply for this also must not have received the SBA's PPP or EIDL loans in 2020. So those are the conditions. But basically, if you're looking for a New York State funded program and you haven't yet done those other 2 programs, this might be a great place for you to start if you meet those other criteria. So you can take a look here for a moment at this. You can see that it's a low interest rate and that they give you a lot of options for using it, and that applications have been open as of May 26th, and they've been processing since June 1st. So this might be a great option for you. Objective 5, we're going to now go from federal to national to state to local. What are the key advisory partners in the central New York area? And again, we've pulled out some that we really think you should pay attention to, because getting connected with your local resources can really make all the difference for you and your business. Because federal, state, and private funding changes often, it's important to understand that these local partners can also change often. So it's important to have an ongoing relationship with them. I'm going to tell you about 3 on this sheet, and then 2, I'm going to keep going with 4 more. Center State CEO is the first one we want to talk about. This is Center State CEO. Think of it like you're a local chamber. They are dedicated to the prosperity of our Syracuse region. They provide leadership, strategy, they provide training. And if you are not a member of CEO Center State, it's something you want to consider, because they send out regular emails. They are updated on what's going on in the state daily. They're a great resource to get a firsthand view of like what is actually going on and how can they help me. The next thing we want to talk about is the SBDC. This is the Small Business Development Center. It's housed at Onondaga Community College. And the great thing about the SBDC is it's, again, funded through the SBA, but it's really focused on small business owners and entrepreneurs in New York State. The SBDC offers training, mentoring, counseling, workshops, webinars, lots and lots of resources for you. So if you're looking for some free resources, go to the SBDC and see what they have to offer you. You can see how many counties that they cover, and it's at no cost to you. Most of their things that they offer are free. Next up is the Empire State Development. Empire State Development promotes a growing economy through many forms of existence. And that could be supplies like PPE, personal protective equipment. But they are here again to help you. It's another resource that you may have never heard of. You may have never reached out to. But right now they're there waiting for you. These are 3 great places to start. And these are people who have been doing this work for a long time and really have their finger on the pulse of what's happening and what's changing. Other key local partners, of course, is WISE, which you are benefiting from right now by being here. WISE is supported by the SBA and by a grant via SU, the Whitman School of Management. I love WISE because our little city of Syracuse is one of 116 women's business centers across the United States. And I just feel so lucky to have this here. WISE is really excellent at helping women get their businesses going and scaling. So please check out WISE for their other offerings. UMEA is it's kind of like a chamber specifically for the minority community. There are some, I was just on a call with UMEA last week, and there are some incredibly dynamic, powerful things happening within that group. And so if this speaks to you, go check out UMEA because they can really help you, and they want to, they're hungry to help you. The SSIC, the Southside Innovation Center. I did not even know that this existed in the way that it exists. I've heard about it in our local area for a long time, but when I saw it in play last week, I was so incredibly impressed because the SSIC offers programming to its residents. It offers, let me just read it to you. Actually, that'll be better than me trying to muddle through this. So actually the SSIC is consists of community residents working with SU on neighborhood projects. The purpose of it is to restore and rejuvenate the community through revitalization initiatives that build resident capacity for self-sufficiency, while promoting economic and cultural opportunities for the residents of the south side of Syracuse. So if you are somebody who think you can benefit from this particular group, go meet with them. They were wonderful. I was so excited to connect with them last week. And then the last 2 key local partners is the Syracuse Economic Development Corporation. This is a private, not-for-profit local development corporation providing low-cost fixed asset financing for commercial businesses operating in Syracuse. They offer these SEDCO loans. So that's something those loans may be used to finance a portion of the cost of acquisition and rehabilitation of real estate or purchases of machinery and equipment. So just an FYI on that. And then the last thing that we're going to share with you regarding a local resource is the Central New York Community Foundation. The Central New York Community Foundation has several funds within it. One of the funds is the Women's Fund, which promotes grants specifically to promote the health and well-being and to promote and benefit women and girls in our region. But the Central New York Community Foundation has other funds within it, and they also just put aside money specifically for COVID-19. They actually also did one for minorities, I think, for Black Lives Matter, I think. So these are amazing resources that we have in our own backyard. And you may have heard of one of them, but you may have been like, I don't know how they can help me. I'm too small. I don't know what I'm doing. Reach out to these people. They are so helpful, and they all know each other. That's the really cool thing. It's really quite an interwoven community in Syracuse. And so if you call, for example, if you call the SSIC and you want to talk to them about something, and they're like, we don't actually do that, but we know that Center State CEO can help you. They can put you in touch with those people. So remember, these are all people behind all of these organizations, and they want to help because that's what they're in business to do. Moving on to Objective 6, which is all about relief. So we want to make sure that you're up to date on any relief programs that are available to you. And so let's talk about those. The first thing we want to talk about, so now we're talking about the IRS again. Do you qualify for any of the IRS tax credit? I'm going to leave this up here for a second and kind of talk you through it. First of all, income tax filing has been pushed out to July 15th, which is, wonderful, especially for right now. Notice also that there is a New York State sales tax 60-day extension to file and pay your March quarterly sales tax. Some good news. There's lots of information on credits. If you have employees who are sick or have taken sick leave to care for somebody else, and there's a lot of intricate information about what those people what those people are doing and what tax credits you can get because of it. So check out the links down here. And also there is an employee retention credit. And again, it's all of these little numbers that you have to decide, do these work for my business? Is this important for me? So if you see down here in the left-hand corner, the IRS coronavirus webpage has ongoing updates about this. So again, bookmark this and go back to it to see if you can access some of these IRS credits. Additionally, there are debt, utility, and rent relief available to many of us. So National Grid, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, debt collections for non-medical and non-educational loans are on automatic suspension for at least 30 days. Just an FYI, I thought that was really interesting. Student federal loan waivers, a temporary stop on monthly payments until September. That might really be helpful to you. The student New York State debt, apply for suspension with the New York State Attorney General, and the New York State bill banning evictions. Maybe this is important to you or somebody that you know, but is this information that you can use or that you can pass along to somebody else? Again, if you go to the website at the bottom, this is taken from the New York City Small Business Services, and so this is something that's updated regularly as well. So I've given you a lot of information so far, and some of it's like overwhelming, and some of it probably has your brain spinning, and it's a lot of numbers I'm throwing at you and a lot of acronyms I'm throwing at you. So you may need to just spend some time like quietly looking through the PDF and asking yourself some good questions like, well, how can I not count myself out? What can I apply for? What could it hurt to just go try? What could it hurt to talk to these people? And remember that it can't hurt. Don't talk yourself out of something. Don't tell yourself something's not applicable to you. Go and do the research. We've made it easy to access all the information. To make sure that you are not the victim of a loan predator, we want to introduce to you our next case study. So we want you to meet Tamara. Tamara is a local entrepreneur. She encountered some trouble when she was looking for some funding for her business, and she wanted to sustain herself during the COVID-19 pandemic. She has lived in Central New York for over 20 years, and she actually runs her family's 25-year-old real estate business. So what I want to understand about Tamara is she's not a new entrepreneur. She's not naive, but she is a woman who got scammed by trying to get a loan. And we all have to be careful when we're looking for funding sources to not get taken advantage of, no matter where we are on our entrepreneurial journey. So we want to talk about, share with you, we've shared so much information, but what are the signs of a potential loan scam? And this is what Tamara shared. This is exactly how she got scammed. So she wanted to share these warnings. Number one, the people and the companies that she was looking at were unregulated, and she didn't bother to check on that. There was nothing regulating them outside of their own organization. They never answered the questions that she had, and they also provided her with inadequate and false disclosure. So if something sounds fishy, if your intuition is telling you that something is wrong here, something sounds too good to be true, let your spidey senses go up and trust yourself, right? Number three, their fees and other charges were incredibly inflated. So you've seen some of the other numbers as we've been going through. 3%, for example, we saw on one of the loans. And so if you're seeing loans that are way up high with incredible high interest rates, that again should make you go, I don't know if this is a good option for me. And she actually said the interest rates on the payday loan she got was almost 500%. And that's not an exaggeration. That's what some people are doing. There were abnormal prepayment penalties, which is weird. And so she didn't listen to herself on that. And she can't even sue them for fraud and misrepresentation because she signed a contract that prevents her from taking legal action. So we want you to avoid these things. And you can see that there's a video here that will help you get more information about potential loan scams. It's just something we really want you to be aware of. I want to talk more about this webinar that Asion is sharing. They're giving you tips on how to avoid being scammed. And this is actually a 42-minute webinar that they're offering. And if you are concerned about this and you're going to go outside of the parameters that we've talked about today, this webinar might be worth your time. Perhaps you have an assistant watch it for you and take notes and give you feedback if you don't have the time to do it. But you can also see here that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has an 800 number that you can call, and also a complaint website that you can complain if you feel that you have been taken advantage of. So there are 10 tips here to take a look at for how to avoid predatory lenders and scams during this very, you know, everybody's feeling really nervous right now. And so it's a time we don't make our best choices when we feel scared, nervous, confused, disoriented, distracted. So please take the time to understand this part for yourself. Okay. Our last section is all about getting your paperwork in order, because now we know where to get our capital. We know how to get our capital. We know what to look for. We know what kind of relief is out there. But the next thing you're going to find when you're doing this research is that they're going to want your paperwork to be in order. And I don't know what it is about paperwork, but so many of us avoid having it in order. It's a pain, it's boring, it's you know, tedious. And so we just want to briefly chat with you about the kinds of paperwork that all of these different agencies are going to ask you for. The number one thing that they're going to want from you are different kinds of financial documents. This could be 1 to 2 years of federal taxes, your most recent P&L statements and balance sheets, especially if you didn't file taxes yet. A trailing flow of profit and loss statements, your personal financial statement, and your personal credit report. So if you don't have these in order yet, that's okay. That's what you take the time to do. You get everything in order. And again, there's people to help you. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by this, WISE is here to support you with that. The second kind of document that you're going to need to have prepared is your business documents. These are articles of incorporation, your bylaws and operating procedures, your schedule of ownership, the owner's driver's license, mortgage or rent statements, and utility bills, the most recent utility bills. The more recent, the better. And then the third piece that they are going to want to look at are your employee documents. So that could include your payroll summary reports and bank statements. This might be interesting. It says payroll subs from February 15th with breakout of payroll benefits. 1099s from independent contractors, the IRS 940 and 941 documents, and then certification that all employees live in the US. So when we break it down like this, it doesn't seem that overwhelming, but if you try to do all of these things at once, it could feel very paralyzing to you. So take these one at a time. Maybe this is where you get some help. You reach out to somebody to tell you exactly where to go to get it. Maybe you talk to the people who are on your team and get them to help you, but you don't have to do this alone, and you don't have to do it all at once. Okay. Just as a review, here are some good practices for documenting your business operations. Do you have these things in order? Have you outlined your personal background? Do you have your resume up to date? Is your business plan done and accessible and up to date? Do you have your credit reports? Do you have your financials? And that includes your income tax return and all your financial statements, and they're outlined here. And maybe this is something that your accountant or your bookkeeper can help you with. What your collateral is, all your legal documents, and they're broken out here: business licenses, articles of incorporation, copies of contracts that you might have with third parties, franchise agreements, and commercial leases. It depends how complex your business is, obviously. And then the last good practice for documentation of business operations is to organize your documents and keep them in good standing. So do you have a binder, or do you have everything electronically? My guess is that you have something in person. Do you have a box where everything is kept? Do you have everything filed? Again, this doesn't have to be your job. You can have an assistant do this, or maybe a partner do this, but this is something that is worth your time and energy to spend doing so that you can be ready when you need to apply for something out. All of your, as they say, all your ducks are in a row. Here is just some more templates for business planning and for financial statements. And I'm not going to go through these. You can see how many there are, and each one of them has a different website that it will take you to. And this is from SCORE. SCORE stands for, hold on, I know it. Can I not find it? SCORE. Where did I put it? What does SCORE stand for? Why can't I remember what SCORE stands for? SCORE is a resource partner of the SBA. It's another great resource for you, and they hold a lot of free trainings, but you can also see how many things you can click on that are templates for you that you can just create your list like we've been talking about by using these templates. I'm sorry, I can't remember what SCORE stands for. Why can't I have that? Sorry. Those are the big things that we wanted to cover today. So let's summarize everything. We started out by talking about what the women who were in our focus groups at WISE told us they were struggling with, what they needed, and what they had realized. So that's where we really started. Then we gave you a lot of information about federal government small business funding programs. And then we specifically talked about the SBA because the SBA is really focused on small business administration, right? Then we moved into national and multi-state private funding, and there's so many great options there. I hope you do take some time to click onto those and see what might be available to you. And then we talked a little bit about New York State because there's not a ton available right now, New York statewide. And then we moved into the local key partnerships. Then we talked about the tax relief, the rent relief, the utilities relief, the debt relief that may be available to you and the resources to go find them. We suggested ways to avoid load predators and how to get all your paperwork and documentation in check so that you can go get the money that you need, go get the support that you need. So we covered a lot today. So right now, if your brain is spinning or you feel overwhelmed, it's very normal that you would feel that way. If there's any notes that you didn't get, that's okay, because you always have the replay to this available. Here's again another overview of the module in case you're a visual person and you want to be reminded of what we started talking about in the beginning. So let's take a deep breath and remember the most important thing that I feel is in this module is there are resources out there, and we don't have to go by hearsay. There are resources that are updated regularly, and we don't have to count ourselves out of any of it. We deserve to get what we need, and we might need some support along the way. So let's talk about that. Again, when you get the PDF, you'll see a lot more resources here on grants and other funding resources that we didn't get to talk about. So there's 2 pages of that. But if you're feeling like I could just really use someone to hold my hand and sit next to me and ask me the good questions and help me cross the T's and dot the I's, I want to introduce you to the team at WISE. These are your business counselors. We've got Barb Stone on the left and Cerisa Richardson in the middle and Lacey Roy Cicerillo on the right. And these women have been trained in this stuff and are ready to help you completely free of charge. Obviously, we shared a lot of resources with you today, but this is a WISE training, and we want to give credit to the women who are here to help you, and they might resonate with you, they might speak your language. And you can access WISE. There's a phone number here, 315-443-8634, where you can call and get help and get set up. And of course, you can email at wisecenter@syr.edu. We also it's important that we give credit to Manal El Tighi, who is the woman who designs these modules. She's done all this primary source research. She puts everything together. She's our instructional designer. I'm just here to read her words and talk to you guys. She's the one who's pulling it all together. And so we really want to give credit to her. And if you are looking for somebody to do this kind of work for you, an instructional designer to help you pull some things together, I cannot recommend her highly enough. She's amazing. And again, I want to say thank you to WISE for doing this work, because the funding to bring this to you was done by people. Everything is done by the people behind these organizations. So thanks to the WISE crew. I know that you guys are working overloaded and overtime, so thank you. And congratulations to you for sitting through this and listening to me. And if you have any questions, I'm here. I'm gonna stop my share in a moment. My name again is Jen Liddy. I'm a business development coach. I'm a teacher. I help business owners grow and scale their businesses. So What's coming up next is in the next module. Hold on, I have this written down and I wanted to tell you guys what was coming up next. And my keys, hold on, I've got what's coming up next. So module 4 is all about how to mitigate the economic impact that COVID-19 has had on our businesses. So we hope to see you there. That's coming up at the end of the week. And you're welcome to be here live. We love having you here live. Remember, there are also, you'll get the PDF, you'll get, and you'll get the recording so you can watch it through again. Let me stop the share and stop talking. Are there any, oh, hi Manal, I didn't know you were here. Nice to see you. Are there any questions at all? I'm happy to take like face-on-face questions or just questions in the chat. Any comments or, I mean, I know we threw a lot at you today and you guys are champs for staying through. Do you have any questions or comments? If you have questions for me, I'm gonna put my email address in here. I'm jen_liddy@me.com. Thanks for coming, Linda. I appreciate you being here and taking the time to do this. And I'm happy to answer any questions at any time. Bye, everyone.